small schools, so it wouldn't make sense to do that. And I don't know that our numbers would be that great.
I'm not objecting to the idea. I've been in a school within a school. But I'm just wondering, in your proposal and coming up with this idea, how do you expect us to understand basically what's going on in this school within a school? In particular, I'm seeing that if you're going to merge A.J. Moore, which I'm really against, but if it's for the best of the district, I guess we'd have to go along with it. But now, how would you merge that into Waco High and University High?
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know you were about A.J. Moore. I thought you were about Tennyson, or the middle level.
I'm
okay.
Okay,
A.J. Moore. Okay, thank you. And I apologize, I'm not hearing well. Let's just pick University High. University was built for capacity for 2,000 students, and that's without floating teachers. A.J. Moore, and it has about 1,400 students. A.J. Moore, I don't have the number in my head what it's built for, but it has about 600 and something, 642. Oh, 735, thank you. And again, it's like the rest of the consolidation. We have 2 buildings that are underutilized. And there's 3 high schools. Waco High School is built has a capacity of 2,500, and we only have 1,400 students there. So if you unlike the elementaries where there's a lot of combinations with 19 of them, with the high schools, there's really just one combination. Now, the one I thought of that didn't go over real well was that we would put Carver at A.J. Moore, which would put it to capacity, and have a 6 through 12. And when the board didn't think that was the best idea they had heard, the only other thing I could think of, because we have a capacity problem at the high school, is that we would merge. I mean, obviously A.J. Moore has to go somewhere else because those other 2 schools couldn't go to A.J. Moore. So what I'm suggesting is, and I talked to Mr. Correa, that there could be a wing that would be the A.J. Moore Academy. I mean, it would be a school within a school, and it would be labeled such as A.J. Moore Academy. They teach culinary arts. They have a lot of academies, but there are athletic, for example, and I believe someone said that there was even a request for athletics a couple of years ago, and I don't know what happened to that, but knowing that kind of lends itself to what if we put A.J. Moore where athletics were? It would keep its own identity. It would keep a principal and assistant principal, and the kids, very much like that Tennyson model, would be kept together except for athletics, fine arts. I believe there would be kids at university who would want to go into A.J. Moore and take some of the aeronautics classes, for example, that they can't get at university. Now, there would be some logistics to work out, but I also think Mr. Correa probably offers some electives that some of the A.J. Moore students would like to take. And there would be a way to work that out.
Yeah, well, if we had a good plan, now you said we're going to meet Saturday on it. If you had a plan as to how all of these problems would work out before we go into detail and discussing them if it don't work. And then one more thing about what I've been listening to. Have we given up on Waco as a city?
Waco as a city?
Yeah. By that I mean, we think that Waco has reached its potential as far as growth is concerned.
Waco High School?
Waco itself.
Well,
because we are basically.
I understand, sir.
We're downgrading. We're closing, say, about 3 or 4 schools. We already got one school over there that's closed. Doris Miller is already closed. It's down. And then we will pretty soon have Brazos Middle School down. And so it looks like to me what we are saying here is that we've given up on Waco's growth. And personally, I think Waco is going to grow more and more as the time comes on.
Well, go ahead. I'm sorry, sir.
Particularly with this park out here that we have, this technical park out here.
The brick.
The
brick.
Yeah,
yes.
Well, they call it the brick. I just call it a technical park.
So
it seems that if we are closing school now, we don't expect any more kids to our enrollments to increase.
Well, one thing that we started with the demographer is to look at our enrollment, because we could have saved a lot of money if she said, oh, your enrollment's going to go up here. We don't have a problem. We just need to wait for the kids to come. And I believe that's probably why the board has not considered consolidation seriously, although you may have, and I don't know it, in the past, thinking, well, the growth in the city catches up. But when you look at that demographic study, two things. One, the projection for Waco ISD up to the year 2020, and if I had my notebook, I would show it to you, and I will have it Saturday, is flat. Now, a lot of those kids live in our school zones, but they go somewhere else. So one of my goals by consolidating and putting us in a stronger position is to actually get those kids back and cause a problem for the board. To be honest with you, sir, I would love to come to you and say, we have got a problem. We got to open up some of those campuses like Lake Air because we got too many kids coming in here. I'll be happy to come back with that. But until then, I don't think we can get them to come back because we don't have the money for instructional programming or staffing that we need to have that strong, rigorous program that make people want to be here.
That's a good idea. But I'm still thinking on that subject that it appears that we're just closing these schools and with the hope that we're saving money, but sometimes you save money in one area and you lose money in the long run. And that's what I think. And as far as this person that, his company or whoever that is that did this demographic study, is this the same one that did the study for J.H. Hine?
No. No, sir.
Well, I would think not, because we know that they missed the mark real good.
That was just me. That was not.
Ma'am?
That was just me that missed the mark. That was not.
Okay, well, I was just wondering about that because, you know, it was well under that, and the first day we entered into the school, it was overcrowded.
And again, sir, I think that's a plus and a promise about what we're trying to do. When we said that school is not good enough for our kids and we want something newer and something stronger, and then a lot of other changes were brought about, people said, I want to go to school there now. Mm-hmm. That's what I want to happen.
And that's a good thing. And that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking for the growth of Waco. And if you've been around here as long as I have, you will notice that Waco is basically landlocked.
Right.
And so what we're doing is we have to provide for growth. If we don't grow, we're going to perish.
And that is why.
And closing the schools would give us that idea that, hey, we're on a sinking ship, and I don't think so. I think the sun is rising on Waco ISD.
And I'm going to gently disagree with you, sir, because I don't like closing schools either, because it does look, that's why some of the recommendations are schools that I think need to be closed and forgotten and make way for some new schools, because I think we're going to have to take that step backwards, and I'm asking you to take that chance so we can actually move forward and get a lot of kids. I think 15% of our kids are within a stone's throw of where they live, but they're not going to our school. Yeah. And we need to get them back.
We need to get them back, but look at the top schools that we're doing now. I'm just looking at it from not as a board member, but for as John Q. citizen. We're thinking about closing some of our #1 schools.
Okay, example.
Example, Viking Hills.
Okay, and that's
example, Carver. Example, A.J. Moore.
Okay, and the three examples, the first one you said Carver, that's what the board.
First one, Viking Hills.
I'm sorry, you're right, Viking Hills. Actually, I was thinking Viking Hills, I just said Carver.
Okay.
You'll find when you get older that happens.
I hope I don't get that much older.
But if we the board expressed that concern, and so that's why I came back with the alternative of giving you the group of choices, because actually and honestly, it does not matter to the problem that we have of underutilizing schools which 3 elementaries we close. It really doesn't. We just need to close 3 elementaries. I went with the logic of the maintenance of Sil Ross and North Waco. Now, when you get to that corner and you put in 4 as a choice, and the board really doesn't mind rezoning, the logical choice is Meadowbrook because of the bridge and because of the structural problems. So that would be, and that's not a, when you're talking about some of our highest performing schools, that's not one of them. And when you speak of Carver, I agree with you on about the good school of Carver and A.J. Moore, and I'm not suggesting in Plan B that either one of them close. I want to pick up A.J. Moore, lock, stock, and barrel, teachers, kids, counselors, paraprofessionals, everybody, and pick them up and move them either to University High or Waco High making it stronger in my mind by giving more options and giving kids more attraction to be there. Now, granted, we would have a 5A school and a 4A school. The advantage to me for that is they don't ever play each other. So when you go to the game, you can actually cheer for your team. And they would not be in competition in anything. And Carver is one of our best middle schools, and what we would be doing with Carver under Plan B is actually putting more kids in that very successful middle school. And it may even be one of our biggest middle schools.
Let me explain to you. I'm not in a disagreement. I believe that what you're doing, you're presenting us with a plan. We can either accept it or reject it.
Or mix it up.
And, well, mix it up, whatever. But what my problem is, I just want to make sure that we covered, that we touched all the bases, and that we realize the things that this city, and not only this city, but the community needs, and recognize the needs of those people out there that are paying the taxes. And once you do that, I'm behind you 100%.
And actually, I need you asking those questions because we need, by the time the board, what I'm hoping, because I've heard the story about Wiley. In fact, I'm going to the Carver homeowners as soon as Thanksgiving's over, and they mentioned the Wiley thing. And that has been mentioned to me before. The reason this started in September and will end in February is that I'm hoping people will say, when in the world are they going to make a decision? I'm so tired of hearing about that, because that'll be just the opposite of what happened at Wiley. That they feel like it was talked to death and people like you ask every possible question, and that these board members and me have to have an answer that they may not agree with, but that it's defensible and justifiable. Mm-hmm. And that we put a lot of thought in, and that's exactly what we want. So actually you are doing what needs to happen tonight and every other night, that we need to be able to say, this is what we need to do and why it's the right thing. Now, the best thing is none of this would happen because we have kids in schools, but for whatever reason, our kids aren't in the schools we built, and we need to get them back. And that's what this whole presentation is about, not closing schools, but getting our kids back and having a stellar school district.
All right, other questions or comments? Mr. Pettis.
Dr. King, what I would like to have in my possession by Saturday is of those students that are A.J. Moore,
Yes, sir.
attending A.J. Moore now,
Yes, sir.
how many of those are coming from the university side? How many of those are coming from the Waco High side?
Can we get that by the day after tomorrow? Okay. Write that. Somehow I got to put out a pen. That if you would do that tomorrow, and because Ms. Ryer, again, sir, because that's why I want Ms. Ryer actually to make a presentation so you can talk to her and Mr. Correa. Obviously, Mr. Laredo could be here too, but I think one high school is plenty because the answers to the other would be about the same. And because Mr. Correa, when you talk to him about it, he's very excited about all the possibilities that could happen. And
So you think by Saturday we'll know how many of the A.J. Moore kids live in the university attendance zone? And by
yes, sir. Yes, if that's all we need, or chunk numbers like that, yes, sir, we can.
Other questions or comments?
Mr. President?
Mrs. Tico.
My only comment was, I think, didn't we have that data as part of the demographic study in that chart that showed who transferred into each magnet school from what
With the
zone?
one that kind of was the,
Yes.
yes, it should be in there, yes, but that's from last year's data.
Yeah, that's last year's data.
So if we want current year, we'll need to run something out of the students.
And there's a fairly significant number at the bottom that say uncoded that don't, on the demographic study, and we probably have that information.
So we'll get that. That would be a good number to have.
All right. Other questions or comments? All right, we'll see folks Saturday morning and pick up the discussion there.